Albert Wesker is synonymous with Resident Evil. Going all the way back to the original, this sunglasses indoors kind of guy had his fingers in everything, from meddling with Umbrella to world domination. If a major event occurred in Resident Evil, Wesker was involved, somehow. There have been many video game characters over the years to have been double or triple agents, with Revolver Ocelot being a standout. But none have so masterfully taken events of an entire franchise and involved themselves in everything just like Wesker. Now, we all know Wesker was born with a pair of shades on, but for the most part, his past has been kept secret, with it only being drip-fed to players, as he is part of what makes up Resident Evil's DNA. So it's time to look past the cool exterior and take off the shades. I'm Ben Roy from WhatCulture.com, and this is Resident Evil Albert Wesker Explained. Wesker was headhunted at an early age by the Wesker Foundation. On paper, this was because of his grades, but secretly, it was all part of a plan that wouldn't be revealed to him for years to come. In 1977, he officially became an employee of Umbrella. Then, under the watchful eye of Oswald E. Spencer, he was placed at the Umbrella Executive Training Center. Here, he would meet Umbrella's founder, Dr. James Marcus, and form a unique relationship with William Birkin. James Marcus was also responsible for discovering the progenitor virus, but Marcus mostly rejected his responsibilities. And it wasn't until Wesker and Birkin were brought in that the T-virus was finally complete. When this was achieved, the two were offered a promotion in the Arclay Mountain Laboratory, secretly rewarded for all the good work they had done for stealing the T-virus strain. Then the training center was closed and Marcus was taken care of. It was this that granted Wesker greater access to Umbrella. Wrapped up in a bunch of corporate backstabbing, James Marcus in question was eventually taken out on the order of Oswald E. Spencer and Edward Ashford, who were fellow founding members of Umbrella. The squad that killed him was also accompanied by Wesker and Birkin. As the two looked upon the dying Marcus, neither had any idea this would eventually lead to his resurrection and to the crumbling of Umbrella from the inside out. Starting off the franchise with Resident Evil 0 and the original, as the leader of the Raccoon City Stars, Wesker had been living a double life for some time, thanks to an overwhelming influence by Umbrella, as at the time they were the largest employer in the United States. This former army officer was made captain of Special Tactics and Rescue Service. Enrico was first in line for the position, though backdoor politics saw that Umbrella got the man that they wanted and could trust. Or so they thought. None of the team had any idea that they were being led by an Umbrella employee for almost 2 years, who then actually turned out to be in it for himself. Wesker defines hiding in plain sight. Once chaos at the Spencer Mansion took place, Wesker's mission was always to collect combat data from stars. Nobody had ever witnessed what the vast majority of BOWs were like when up against highly skilled individuals. For the most part, many of the stars members didn't have a chance, as Bravo team was almost totally wiped out, bar Rebecca Chambers. X-Day, as it was named, went on to change the world of Resident Evil forever, and eventually led to the destruction of Raccoon City. Wesker was also on the list of people that had been killed, as he was skewered by the tyrant T-002 right in front of stars. But whilst they escaped in a helicopter, Wesker made it out, thanks to being regenerated by the virus that he had been infected with from an early age. Albert Wesker was one of the only two who survived Project W, a program that was designed to force the human race to adapt more seamlessly to the prototype virus in Oswald Spencer's quest for immortality. All 13 children chosen were seen to have superior DNA, and after being abducted, they were all given the surname Wesker in honor of the head researcher. This, of course, came after many years of brainwashing by Umbrella to secure absolute loyalty. Before the 13 children made it into the final stages, hundreds were adopted, or even worse, for Project W. This would all play into Spencer's shaping of the human race in his image, and by 1998, Albert and Alex had reached the top of the program. This right away explains how Wesker was able to walk off injuries that would turn anyone into a shish kebab. Within moments of walking, Wesker was able to fight his way out the Spencer Mansion and even engage Lisa Trevor before he ran into the woods and escaped. Soon after, he gained employment elsewhere until he could build his own empire. Though when it came to Alex, the virus just cured her of a life-threatening condition. With the death of Spencer in 2006, the project finally came to an end, as this once powerful figure sat at the end of his corporation as it burned. Here is where he revealed to Wesker that he was nothing more than an experiment. Though little did Spencer know, Wesker had a hand in his downfall, and consumed by rage after Spencer's comments, Spencer never would become a god, as he so desired. Umbrella didn't fall overnight, and it was a lengthy process. But whichever way you look at it, the corporation eventually fell thanks to the handiwork of Albert Wesker. Even before the Raccoon City incident, Wesker had desires to either take over or form his own future, one that he could lead, but this meant taking out key players first. Before he went into full-time business for himself, Wesker would align with one of Umbrella's top rivals, the Organization. From here, he would become a spy for them, and Albert acted as a middleman between the Organization and Ada Wong. Being Ada's contact throughout the Raccoon City incident, Albert would keep his trust for the super-secret agent at arm's length, but eventually guide her out of the city once she had completed her mission and stole the G-Virus from William Birkin. This would go on to be the start of their partnership, if you can call it that. As the leader for the Hive Host Capture Force, Wesker took the fight to Umbrella on Rockford Island with the goal of stealing the T. Veronica virus. And Wesker wasn't only confronted by his ex-fellow STARS member, Chris Redfield, but here he would also meet his sister, Claire, and even collide with Alexia Ashford in a mansion that resembled the one of that in the Arcade Mountains. The two fought before Wesker fled, leaving Chris to clean up his mess once again. Though he wouldn't find any T. Veronica samples, the HCF soon learned that Stevie Burnside was infected with said virus, after being used by Alexia as a test subject. Through Stevie Burnside, Wesker and the HCF would complete their mission and acquire the T. Veronica virus they came for all along, and in doing so did significant damage to Umbrella in the process. After this, Wesker would learn of Umbrella's Caucasus Laboratory, which was being run by Sergei Vladimir. Wesker had once collided with a former UBCS operative, before and during the chaos at the Spencer Mansion, but now was his time to finally take out one of the key high-ranking members of Umbrella for good. In the twilight of Umbrella, Wesker leaked the Talos project to STARS members Jill and Chris, using them as cover so he could not only kill Vladimir, but for an opportunity to steal data and shut down the Red Queen for good. Then after leaking a vast majority of this data, this was truly the end for Umbrella. Wesker maintained the illusion of death for a surprisingly long time, with only getting his hands dirty once or twice. Working for his own means, he would employ the services of Ada Wong and Jack Krauser, a former soldier of the United States military. And as the 90s came to a close, a new century dawned. This is where Wesker would truly rise to power. Pulling strings, he would go on to acquire samples of the T, G, and T. Veronica virus, but needed more than that if he was to create his final virus. This meant that in the events of Resident Evil 4, when the president's daughter, Ashley Graham, was kidnapped by Los Illuminados, Wesker had a perfect opportunity to obtain the last plagueless parasite. Little did Sadler know, he was just playing into the greater plan that Wesker would eventually act on, meaning that all Sadler's work with the parasite would eventually end up in Wesker's hands, for him to pass over to Tricell. After Leon S. Kennedy saved Ashley, it all seemed like the mission had been accomplished. But Wesker successfully received the dominant Plaga parasite from the dead body of Krauser, no thanks to Ada Wong, who basically betrayed him and gave Wesker the standard one. From here, he would go on to dissolve the organization's leadership, taking over what remained for himself. After the Raccoon City incident, Tricell would rise from his ashes and go on to filling a giant umbrella-sized hole that it left behind. Together with Excella, they would go on leading Tricell into a new age, as they collected much of the leftovers from Umbrella. Along with Ricardo Irving as the distributor, they would manufacture their own bioweapons and ship them wherever they saw fit, much like a new Umbrella. But of course, Wesker was in it for himself, meaning that he went on to betray Excella and Ricardo Irving. People should really stop trusting Wesker. But by the time of Resident Evil 5, Wesker has already had his hands in bringing down Umbrella from the inside out, destroying the Ashfords, manipulating the events of Resident Evil 4, and perfecting his own strain of virus, the Ouroboros virus. This was done so with all that he had learned from the T, G, and T Veronica virus, Plaga sample from Los Illuminados, and to top it all off, the blood of Jill Valentine. Much like Project W back in his childhood, Wesker would seek to find the strongest of humanity, dubbing it his global saturation. Only a select few would live with Ouroboros, whilst the rest would be overcome by it and turned into monsters. Jill Valentine's blood is the final missing piece in all of this, as her blood contains antibodies that are required to finally perfect Wesker's plan. These being created after she was cured from the T-Virus, which she was infected with after her confrontation with Nemesis back in Raccoon City. After being cured, she would be unaware just how valuable her blood was. Once done with Jill, Wesker decided to keep her around for safekeeping, as he didn't know if he would need her even more. Thanks to the virus that Wesker was infected with, he eventually gained superhuman abilities that were only unlocked once he was killed back in the Arclay laboratory. Over the years, he would only get stronger as he gained accelerated healing, super strength soon followed, and increased speed, which gave him the confidence to take on Alexia Ashford after her T. Veronica transformation. Though he wouldn't be in his prime yet, and he couldn't take Alexia down just with his abilities alone, so he wasn't able to deal with Chris Redfield either. But he always kept him in the back of his mind. Once Wesker met Chris again though, he was more powerful than ever. Having almost perfectly bonded with the virus, he had bullet time-like abilities, superior strength, and heightened regenerative powers, which meant that in the conventional means, even a partner wouldn't be enough to take him down. What was most impressive was the ability to catch rockets out of the sky, something that only tyrants had been able to do in the past, though the virus fought him for control as he aged, so a serum was needed to keep him in check, which was PG-67AW. Though thanks to information from Jill Valentine, Chris and Sheva were able to overload Wesker with this serum, causing him to go into a fit of rage and infect himself with Ouroboros, only mutating him enough so he could kill Chris and Sheva. Wesker would eventually fail though, and end up in the bottom of a volcano, but not after being finished off with a pair of rockets, a signature of the series. No villain in the Resident Evil franchise will ever carry as much name recognition or be as infamous as Albert Wesker ever again. Not only was he there from the very start, but by the end, he had risen to such a level that he truly put the world at risk, even more so than the C-Virus in Resident Evil 6. Before his death, his HCF group had a role in creating a progenitor-enhanced mold, which would eventually manifest in Resident Evil 7. The bioweapon E001 would become known as Evelyn. Though to bring things full circle, Evelyn was defeated by Ethan Winters with an Albert 01 pistol, loaded with ramrods, handily dropped by Blue Umbrella at the Baker family estate. It is very unlikely that we'll ever see him re-emerge in the future, but you can never count him out. For example, Alex Wesker managed to copy her consciousness into another body, that of Natalia Corda, thanks to the T-Phobos virus, which means down the line she will surely live again. So if one Wesker has escaped death, maybe the superior one will too. And with the end of RE6, Jake Mueller is also still alive. And not only does he share the same blood as Albert, but the abilities are also very similar. So perhaps we could see Wesker claiming his body in another one of his slow burn plans. And that is Albert Wesker explained, all the way from his origins to his sinister plans of taking over the world. And of course, global saturation. Do you think Wesker will come back eventually, or is he dead for good? Let us know down in the comments below, and don't forget to like, share and subscribe. And also, if you want any other Resident Evil deep dives, just tweet us at WCulture Gaming or tweet me at Ben Roy Turner. Anyway, until next time, just watch out for those horrendous QuickTime events in Resident Evil 5.